What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. Today, we've got our NFL player projections for week number 6. On today's show, we're going to run through our top 5 at each skill position, discuss players we're especially high and low on this week, and we'll throw out some player props for each position. Here to break it down with me, one of the most accurate fantasy football rankers in the world, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, great to have you back. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better, man.
Yeah, glad to be back. Hopefully that's it. This is definitely a scare. It would take a lot to knock me out. I didn't have the sniffles. This is a legit situation. Glad to be back. It was so weird. I was kind of out on Sunday just watching games. I wasn't sweating anything. I only sweated maybe 3 plays. The only bet I had all week was DJ Moore longest catch over 21.5 yards. And he hit on the 3rd play. So I technically didn't. I only sweated 3 plays, which to be honest was for the best for me this week. But I am grateful to be back doing what I love. So I can't wait to finally get back at it. Looking forward to week 6, and hopefully this is behind me.
Yeah, man. I'm just hoping you're doing better, and glad to have you on the pod. And we held it down for you on Convince Me. I think we went 6-0 on the early slate. I swept for the 3rd week in a row.
Nice.
I think Simon swept. No, he went he got 2 out of 3, but we did our thing. So nice. Held it down where you're gone. So now we got to get back to it.
Hell yeah.
Get back to it. Let's start with quarterbacks. Who you got top 5 for week 6?
Looks like a pretty standard top 5. I got Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Tua.
Yep, same here.
Okay.
No real argument there.
I thought you were going to tell me that actually Lamar Jackson's out 2 weeks or something like that. I think I have everything covered, but you never know right now.
Nah. I mean, I don't know. Do you have Andy Dalton projected for a half a rush attempt? Because he's going to come in and
oh, wow.
Swipe Bryce Young's, quarterback sneaks. But besides that, I think you're good. Who you high on? Who you high on this week?
So I'm high on Joe Burrow. He's back inside my top 10 because, he was obviously held back the first 4 games with that calf injury. But last week was the first time it looked like he was closer to 100%. He was moving around really well. And like I was saying with him, it's not necessarily, he doesn't lean on his legs to generate rushing stats like a Justin Fields does. But he does, lean on his rushing ability to escape pressure and throw outside the pocket. If you look at his efficiency last year, he was way better when he was throwing outside the pocket. And we just haven't been able to see that this year. He only had 10 pass attempts outside the pocket weeks 1 through 4. Last week he had 5. So I think that helped a ton. Obviously threw for over 300 yards for the first time, threw 3 touchdowns for the first time. Granted, it was against the Cardinals, but again, he looked really good. This week he has another plus matchup against the Seahawks. Could get T. Higgins back, so I think we can safely say Joe Burrow's back to being a top 10 quarterback.
Daniel Jones is just glaring at you when you say plus matchup against the Seahawks.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he was the first one to bomb, but maybe that's more of a Daniel Jones indictment than anything.
I think so. I think so.
Or the offensive line. Take your pick on who to blame.
Everything. Everything. Everything's broken. Everything's broken for the Giants. But, Joe Burrow is... What do you have him? You said he's your QB 10?
He's my QB 10 for now, yeah. But
yep, same here.
Could go. I think it depends on T. Higgins' status. That really does move the needle for Burrow still. So I think if Higgins is back, there's a chance he's maybe QB 9. I don't think I could rank him ahead of Justin Herbert yet, but certainly he's back in the top 10. I think last week I had him outside the top 15 because how were we supposed to know he was going to be magically better? We knew it was going to happen at some point, but I was just kind of waiting. It was kind of a wait and see situation until I moved him back up. But I saw enough last week to know that it looks like his calf is feeling a lot better.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, he's back to quarterback 10 for me. I mean, he's close to Herbert. It's just that, that Dallas defense. I know they got plastered by San Francisco, but that
I think it's just the Niners
doing to everybody.
Niners are just really good. I think that the Cowboys are still a very good team. This is going to be a tough matchup, but I think the Niners are just unstoppable right now.
Your last undefeated team bet is still alive. You're just waiting for the Eagles to
Well,
lose, right?
yeah. I mean, at this point, like, when are the Eagles gonna lose? Have you looked at their schedule? I think they faced the Niners in like week 11 or
Ooh, there you
12.
go.
So at some point, the Niners can control that situation. But the Eagles are at the Jets this week. Like when I was simming this out before the season started, I assumed like an Aaron Rodgers led Jets. So they just really haven't had a tough test yet. So this could go into like week 10. We'll see.
I need you to add to that bet Niners to go undefeated. Because if they beat Philadelphia,
yeah, you mean just
like
17?
who else are they losing to? Maybe Baltimore,
I know.
and that's a tough one. But like,
well,
they're better than every team in the league right now.
They face the Bengals soon, but I think that's at home again. Like all their
Yeah.
tough matchups are at home, so that helps.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it's like even if they had Sam Darnold in there, you don't think they could still score like 24?
It's 20... Kyle Shanahan can have anybody thrive in that offense. So yeah, I mean they'd still be pretty good, and they have 5 or 6 players that are like the best at their position, and they're all healthy right now. So I was just saying like the time to invest in them is like early in the season while they're still healthy. So knock on wood, but I mean it seems like every year they're below average in injury luck, and just they're staying healthy right now. So they're going to be one of the best teams as long as all these studs, these blue chip players, can stay healthy. And Brock Purdy just looks amazing in this game.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him because I got him coming
nice.
up in our prop. But I am high on Matthew Stafford. He is my QB 7. He's QB 12 in expert consensus on Fantasy Pros right now. And going up against this Cardinal defense, you just kind of mentioned it. Not very good, 30th in pass defense DVOA. And Matthew Stafford, quietly second in pass attempts per game at 40.6, fourth in passing yards per game at just over 290. So I think he's due for some regression because he's just 20th in touchdowns per game at 1. And now he's got Cooper Kupp back, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, a great top 3 receiver with he's still got Higbee off the new contract. Kyron Williams can catch the ball out of the backfield. And, this defense for the Rams still isn't great. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals are still able, to get to 20 plus and force the Rams to continue to be a high volume pass offense, which they'll probably want to be anyway, just going up against this bottom 3 pass defense. But yeah, Matthew Stafford, I think he's going to have a really good year, especially now that Cooper Kupp is back. I mean, some of the numbers have been a little underwhelming. I think some of it was just bad luck. Like, remember that terrible play sequence in the Monday night game against Cincinnati where they had first and goal at the 2, and it was just all these terrible play calls. So I think his touchdowns are going to come back, but I think the yardage now that Kupp is back, I mean, Kupp is probably going to go for 100 plus every week, and then Puka is going to be right there at 5-6 catches for 80 a week too. So I think Stafford's going to be one of these guys in that 280, 290, 300 yard range week in, week out. So love me some Matthew Stafford this week.
Yeah, they just looked unstoppable with Kupp and Nacua. And he still has Tyler Higbee and Tutu Atwell if he ever wants to throw to them. But his final line was kind of underwhelming. 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. But when they had the ball, they were really efficient. The problem is they just never had the ball. I'm looking, they had 22 minutes time of possession. I mean, just anytime the Eagles got it, they would just have a 10, 15 minute drive, it seemed like. So just the final stat line was definitely misleading. So yeah, I am high on the Rams offense. Cooper Kupp picked up where he left off, and Puka is a legit number 2 weapon. So yeah, I'm high on Stafford as well.
Circle week 11, Rams host the Seahawks. That'll be a good 80 plays for the Rams in that game. Seahawks, it's 3 and outs and explosive plays. That's what the Seahawks do.
Exactly.
Okay, who are you low on?
So I'm low on Kirk Cousins. He had really settled in as a solid QB1 option every week this year. Multiple touchdowns in all 5 games so far, but looks like he could be without Justin Jefferson for several games now. Granted, he has talented pass catchers like Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne who can step up, but nobody can really replace Justin Jefferson. And you know they have an easy matchup against the Bears this week, so you know Cousins' efficiency will certainly take a hit without Jefferson, but also the Vikings might just become a little bit more run heavy without Jefferson. They can, you know, they could probably beat the Bears with just a more balanced approach this week. So I'm viewing Cousins as more of like a high end QB2, at least for this week. But the ECR, you know, the ECR is probably just recycling last week's rank, and that's why he's like QB8. But again, like being without a player like Justin Jefferson does have like a massive impact, especially on a guy like Kirk Cousins. It's not like he can bail you out with his rushing stats or anything. He's banking on, you know, that massive play volume, the efficiency. So just their game plan, you know, their pass rate over expected might just take a hit this week. So that's enough for him to, you know, drop 5 or 6 slots than I'd normally have him. So yeah, right now he's my QB 13.
Yeah, he is my QB. He's my QB 11, but there's kind of a glut of guys that are always
yeah. He's at least in that, like before this week, he was just, it was crazy. Just you set it and forget it. He's a stud QB1. Now he's at least in the mix where you have to like contemplate who's available.
Yeah, I think Stafford is going to be the new Cousin. Like now that Stafford.
Oh
is
yeah,
back,
that's a good.
You know. Yeah. Yep. So if I'm sure Stafford's not still on anyone's waiver wire, but if he is, I would definitely grab him. I'm low on Deshaun Watson this week. He is QB 19 in ECR. I don't get that. First of all, he's not even a guarantee to play. Second of all, he's got a shoulder injury. Third, he's going against the 49ers. So, you know, that's just a trifecta of negative situations for Deshaun Watson. The Niners are 6th in pass defense DVOA. I don't think you want to touch any of this Cleveland pass game this week, whether it's Watson, whether it's PJ Walker, who would get the start over Thompson if Watson was out. So yeah, I have Watson. If he plays, I would have him QB 29. So
oh shit, how the mighty have fallen. Good lord.
I mean, you know, what are we expecting to do in this matchup with a bum shoulder? Like hand the ball off? Like he's not been playing too. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but if he takes a hit that, you know, saw Anthony Richardson, you land the wrong way and it's over. So yeah, I think he's an in-game injury risk even if he plays. That's another issue. Okay, let's go prop. So for the prop, we talked about these two guys briefly, Cousins, Brock Purdy.
Ooh.
So let's go Cousins versus Brock Purdy passing yards, and I'll give you Purdy plus 24.5.
Oh, damn. I thought it was a pick'em at first.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I have...
We're not going that easy.
I have Cousins 20 yards more. I'm like around 260. I have Purdy around 240. So okay. I'll take the yards here.
With Purdy? Okay.
Yeah, I'll take the yards because it's a tough matchup, but it should be close enough where they might just have a more pass-heavy game plan than normal since it might be the rare non-blowout. Well, I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's a good line. Again, I have it closer to like plus 20. How many passing yards do you have Cousins for right now?
259 right now.
Oh, okay, so same.
Yeah.
And then you have Purdy just a little bit lower, like 235.
Actually, I have Purdy 246. I just figured.
Okay.
Like I figured you like yeah. Because it's tough. Because it's like I feel like there's the median, but like the ceiling for Cousins is still high because it's still the Bears, you know. So it's like it's a tough line to set. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of talk those like, two guys.
Yeah, no, it's a good line. The one thing I noticed is there like potential weather in Cleveland? This is the time where we have to. Oh, there is. Oh shit! Because
I mean, I think around the league there just seems to be wind. Let me double check that.
Usually, this is the time like Cleveland we'll have like 4 straight Cleveland games where there's like 30-mile-an-hour winds. Looks like breezy with a chance of rain. So
yep, that's both of those games, Bears and Browns.
Oh,
games.
Okay.
Chance of rain and winds upward of 15 mile per hour. So
okay, so that impacts both technically, potentially. Yeah, because I noticed the total was like 4 or 5 points lower than I thought it'd be.
37.5. Yeah, I think it was around 41.5, and then I think that there's just speculation that Watson may sit. I think that's why the total is sitting there at 37.5 as we record this on Tuesday. I think if Watson is if he gets like full practices or he's locked in as a starter, I think it'll go back up to
Yeah,
40-ish.
that's what I thought. Just like a few points though, but it seemed just a little low. Just the Niners offense just looks unstoppable. So despite the tough matchup, I thought they're still good for 25 plus points.
30. I mean, if it's been any indication of what they've been doing week in, week out. You know what everyone loves, Sean? And that's compliments. Compliments are guaranteed after making the leap to skincare with Caldera Lab. And I'm talking about how you look today and 20 years from now. The results are incredible in little time. Men's skincare and Caldera Lab are the perfect pair for you to look good and feel your best. Super easy to add to your morning and nightly routine. Clear skin, less wrinkles, and signs of aging. Enough said. Caldera Lab Skincare. Join the other 100,000 men who trust Caldera Lab to show your best first impression this fall. Now, Caldera Lab knows the skincare world is heavily female driven and has long been the wild, wild west for men. That's why they're making the solution simple with just 3 steps. 1, you got the clean slate, which is a face wash to start and end your day. Then you got number 2, the base layer, which is a daily moisturizer to hydrate your skin. And number 3 is the good, which is an eye serum you can put on at night to help your skin look tighter and smoother. And just for our audience, we have an exclusive deal. Use code ACTION, ACTION, at calderalab.com and get 20% off right now. That's 20% off with code ACTION at calderalab.com. Make unforgettable first impressions with Caldera Lab. Sean, who you got in your top 5 at the running back position?
So I have Christian McCaffrey number 1. Then at number 2, I have Raheem Mostert.
Nice.
I mean, that was a fun one to see. That was like when Ramondre Stevenson, I updated my projections. He was RB1. I was like, what the? So yeah, I looked at, Raheem Mostert's my RB2. Josh Jacobs number 3. I mean, the example of volume is king right there. And then Travis Etienne and Bijan Robinson.
I got McCaffrey number 1. I got Tony Pollard number 2. You didn't even have Pollard in your top 5, did you?
Yeah, what the hell? Like,
you're down on
usually
him, I guess.
Yeah.
There's been some shenanigans with the Cowboys game scripts. They're either blowing someone out or getting blown out. So like,
right.
It's kind of a little.
I'm sure he'll end up in my top 5, but right now he's not, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. So he's number 2 for me, although coming off a down week, so I get it. Travis Etienne number 3. Love the matchup. He's been talk about volume. He's been, I think, exceeding expectations, especially considering they keep 4 backs active these days. He still gets 20 carries a week. Jacobs 4, and then back to my guy Kyron Williams at number 5.
Nice.
Still getting enough work, and a home favorite matchup, so he's back there. I think Bijan. I think I'm 8 on Bijan. He's kind of been, his usage has been tailing off a little bit lately, so I'm a little lower on him.
That was always one of the known questionable things with him, but he's just so friggin' good. Plus you have I have Tony Pollard right there, David Montgomery right there.
Yep, another one.
Austin Eckler right there if he does finally return this week. So just the RB1, the RB position is solid right now, to put it lightly.
Finally. I mean, finally, the pond is, the frozen pond is melting, I guess.
Oh, there's still a pond sitting there. But it doesn't exist in the top
Jonathan
12
Taylor?
Oh my God, we'll get to that.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm dipping in the frozen pond here. I'm going with Roschon Johnson against the Vikings. Looks like Khalil Herbert is definitely going to miss a handful of games. Roschon himself is in the concussion protocol, so just discussing the Bears' backfield is very tricky to begin the week. I think just the fact that they played Thursday gives him just an increased chance to at least clear the protocol by then. So right now I have Roschon starting for Herbert. It looked like it was any given week now he was going to leapfrog Herbert, but that just never happened. But now that Herbert's out, he should take over. So I'm guessing he would see, 10 to 15 carries and handle most of the passing down work, which heading into the season, I didn't think was going to be valuable at all in this offense. But Fields has been targeting his running backs pretty heavily at the 4th highest rate in the league this year. So, he could rack up a few catches with the increased usage on passing downs. So Johnson's going to be an RB2 option if he can suit up. If he's not able to suit up, then it'll be Deontay Foreman. Everybody should be adding everywhere right now just in case. But either way, it's a pretty good matchup. This is going to be a pretty close game against the Vikings. So Johnson, again, if he can suit up, is going to have a pretty big workload here.
Yeah, right now I still got him pretty much splitting the work, but that's because, I'm usually on a regular week, guys really don't play after a concussion, but with the 10 days,
right.
There is, I think, an increased chance, but almost after Tua, almost no one's playing now with just a regular 1 week to recover. Even if they get back to practice, they don't usually end up playing. But I like that call, and this Bears offense, you mentioned it, Fields targeting running backs because they're calling so many screen passes these days, so
right.
That could work in Johnson's favor. He is the better pass catcher than Foreman either way. They also signed Darrington Evans off the Dolphins practice squad, so I'm assuming he's going to be active because when you sign someone off the practice squad, that means they're going to be on an active roster. But I think that's the Travis Homer replacement. He's hurt too. We got a Kari Blossom game,
8 carries
prime time. Yeah,
8 carries for 20 yards. Oh shit!
Great. Yeah. I guess I'm not as high as you, but I'm high on Raheem Mostert. I have him RB6. I thought I was high.
Yeah, come on. I had like a Ray-Ban rank there.
Right.
Come on, man.
He's still RB11 in ECR. I'm sure that'll go up, but love the matchup. The Carolina Panther defense is dead last in run defense, DVOA. Mostert, in the 2 games, Devon Achane did not play. Mostert averaged a 73% snap rate, and then in the 3 games Achane played, that dropped to 51%. So you could see, Mostert return to starter usage here. I do think that Jeff Wilson may return this week. Now, I don't know that he'll get the workload he was getting last year when him and Mostert were essentially splitting it 50-50. I think, we saw them ease Achane in, and Wilson's practice window was, he couldn't even practice last week when he was first eligible. So, it's no guarantee that he suits up this week. And then you got Salvon Ahmed and Chris Brooks behind Mostert. So I think there's a good chance Mostert gets back to that 70+% snap rate this week.
Yeah, it's such an easy matchup too. I'll be looking for the longest rush prop. You probably couldn't set it high enough for Mostert this week. He's ripping off a 40+ run, right?
Yeah, unless the Panthers just keep turning it over and he just keeps getting 3-yard touchdowns.
True.
But I love Mostert this week. And another one, Alvin Kamara. I have him RB9. He's RB12 in consensus. And you mentioned it. There's just a ton of good running back options this week. But Houston is 23rd in run defense DVOA, 28th in DVOA on running back passes. I mean, we saw Bijan get in the end zone through the air last week. And Kamara, quietly 24.5 touches per game in the 2 games he's played, 25 and 24. So he's yet to touch the ball less than 24 times in a game since returning. That's great news because we haven't seen that kind of usage from Kamara in a long time. Rarely did we, because he was kind of always in a committee. Rarely did he get 20+ touches. So it's nice to see that. So got him in my top 10 as well.
Nice.
Who you on?
I'm low on Jerome Ford. Obviously, this is just a brutal matchup against the Niners, but there was some concern with his workload heading into the Week 5 bye. Week 4, we saw Kareem Hunt and Pierre Strong really start to eat in his early down work, including short yardage work. They didn't really have any goal line snaps in that game, but there's a chance that it could have been Hunt or Pierre Strong even that was handling goal line duties. This could be devolving into a 2-3-way committee. But just the fact that and Ford was still dominating the passing down usage, but the fact that they're coming out of the bye means that Kareem Hunt might be more involved coming out of the bye. He's been getting up to speed, getting his conditioning back. We could see him start to eat into Ford's passing down usage. So I'd be very careful with him this week, just with the tough matchup in general. But kind of wait and see how this is gonna sort itself out after the bye. But yeah, I have Ford as more of a dicey RB3 flex option this week. And if all looks well, if his usage is back to where it was, weeks 2 through 4, then he could be more of an RB2 option going forward. But just this week specifically, I'd be very cautious with Jerome Ford.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways, it could go wrong. The game script, and then, like you mentioned, guys, we're kind of just mixing in with him even, when the game wasn't necessarily out of hand. So, yeah, I have him. I have him just outside the top 24, so 25th. Yeah. But yeah, not feeling great about him in this tough matchup. I'm low on. So we mentioned all these RB1 caliber plays this week. One we didn't talk about? Derrick Henry.
You're going there? Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm going there. He's my RB16.
Yeah.
And, that I think that's just because it's a pretty good week for running backs. And Henry, he just hasn't quite been getting the usage that we're accustomed to in the past. 17.2 carries per game is great for most backs, but it's his lowest since 2018. He's also averaging a career low 3.8 yards per carry. Tyjae Spears is mixing in on a lot of the passing downs these days, and you're facing a Baltimore run defense that's number 6 in DVOA and number 4 on running back passes. So it's a tough matchup for backfields as is. The Titans are underdogs. They usually play well as underdogs, so it's not necessarily game script that I'm worried about, but you're getting 17 carries and you're lucky to get 1 maybe 2 catches, but it's just not the same. I don't think the ceiling is 28 30 carries anymore the way it used to be, the way Spears is kind of rotating in. So in a tough matchup like this with a low total, London, wonky things could happen with body clocks and whatnot. So,
true.
Just a lot of guys I rather play this week than King Henry. So yeah, got him RB16. He's still in the top 10 in ECR.
Oh, really? Yeah, I just noticed I have him RB15, but
yeah.
I mean, I remember going into the season, he's obviously going to decline soon, and I'd always visualize what would that look like when you really see signs he's declining. And there was a carry this week where I think they were on the 5-yard line or something. He got a pitch play, and he just got caught from behind and just fell down. Those are the kind of plays I visualize Henry, how he'd look like when he's really starting to fall off. And that kind of play would never happen back in the day. It would just either outrun him or just it would take a lot more contact to bring him down. But he just looks like he's definitely declining, and he's also seeing his snaps just really get cut into with Tyjae Spears. So it's all of the things I was kind of worried about his decline have been happening this year. So yeah, it's sad to see because he's one of my favorite fantasy backs of all time. But yeah, he's more of a mid-range RB2 right now.
Yeah, at least for this week. I mean, he looked pretty good against Cincinnati. Don't get me wrong. It's just in this matchup,
moments,
it's a tough one. It's a real tough one. Okay. What do you got for the prop?
Oh, this is going to be a fun one because I don't know the answer to this. Who will have more rushing yards this week, Jonathan Taylor or Zach Moss?
Whew. Am I getting 0.5?
No, it's just
well, because if they tie, we want.
Oh, I'll make Jonathan Taylor the favorite. Minus a half yard for Jonathan Taylor. So if they tie, Moss wins.
I'll go Moss.
Wow.
There was a pretty big discrepancy last week in the carries, and I know it was Taylor's first game, but Moss also outplayed him, and they did say they're going to kind of ramp Taylor up over the next month. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it's kind of hilarious to me because the Colts they were like Irsay has just been, he makes that organization, he just pulls it, he just drags it down sometimes, but I feel like Steichen is better than expected. Things are kind of on track, and not paying a running back big money is actually a smart move.
Yeah.
Right? So then out of nowhere, they just pay the guy, and then of course you just smacked in the face by the guy you traded a late round pick, or was it Nyheim Hines? Did they even trade a pick? Or was it just Nyheim Hines?
For Moss?
It's this cheap guy
it was
completely outplays Taylor to the point. I forgot Taylor was active by the third quarter because it was just Moss all day. So I I don't know how you give him fewer carries than Taylor at this point. Like I think after that game last week, that was a great Titan run D. I know Jeffrey Simmons got banged up, but still great Titan run D. So I think Moss is the favorite for carries for at least one more week, and thus got to make him the favorite for yards as well. So yeah, I'll go with Zach Moss.
It's crazy to think about, but yeah, they actually end up paying Taylor, and then Zach Moss looks like prime Derrick Henry the following week. Just
right,
not good for the running back market. Those kind of things happening, but yeah. How many leagues was Zach Moss on the bench? Like every league?
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume.
Can't fault people.
I thought it was going to be like, like a 60-40. Like, I think I had Taylor like 12 carries, Moss like 8 or something. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think it was going to be just Moss running completely away with it. But, like, yeah, like, I literally forgot that Taylor was active and back by the, like, we just didn't see him after a certain point in that game. So that's like, it's funny that, like they're like, oh yeah, he's a great back. That's why we paid him. It's like, no, you were right the first time, bro.
Yeah,
like,
that was fantasy football at its finest. Come on, we gotta love that.
I mean, that was Jim Irsay at his finest, though. That's
like,
I forget the fantasy implication. It's just hilarious to me that Taylor was quoted as saying this is a great deal for running backs, and then immediately his cheap backup, who's been like a healthy scratch on like his last team, completely runs circles around him, like circles. And honestly, Moss has been great all year. So and last year. He's
great. Making $1 million this year.
$1 million, and Taylor's making 42 over the next 3.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Good job, Colts. Okay, wide receiver. Who you got? Top 5.
Well, I mean, we're missing the GOAT himself, Justin Jefferson. So the number 1 slot is wide open, and I'm giving it to Tyreek Hill. And then Jamar Chase is right there. Then I got Stephon Diggs, who instead of being my wide receiver 5 every week, he's now my wide receiver 3. And then Cooper Kupp back in the top 5 at wide receiver 4, and then Devontae Adams at wide receiver 5.
I got Hill, Chase, Diggs, Kupp, and Keenan Allen is my number 5 over Devontae.
Yeah.
Devontae, very slow revenge game.
Yeah.
Now he's going up against Belichick, so I'm a little worried about Devontae now. Looks like Jacoby Myers revenge game this week too, and Jimmy G revenge game.
It's Gardner Minshew revenge game week too.
Ooh, yeah,
we got some.
I feel like we've been having a lot of revenge games this year.
Yeah. Is it a Brandon Cooks revenge game? Oh nope.
Brandon Cook.
A rare week.
He's on every team. Like, yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This is a rare week where it's not a Brandon Cooks revenge game.
Nah. Okay. Who you high
on? Well, unfortunately, we're without Justin Jefferson for at least a handful of games. It looks like that looks like the fear, but we will get to see my favorite rookie wide receiver step up this week in Jordan Addison. And he's really been, we've talked about it, like he's been a fringe wide receiver flex option all season. Just because he's still behind KJ Osborne in 2 wide receiver sets anyway, and he's been banking on touchdowns. He's been scoring touchdowns. He has 3 on the season, but we haven't really been able to confidently rank him or play him as a wide receiver 3. But Jefferson out this week, great matchup against the Bears. He's going to see, his routes run rate go up 10-15% this week, replacing basically Justin Jefferson. But he's also going to see a big increase in target share. And while, we were talking about Kirk Cousins' overall passing yards will go down this week, it's still just going to be a massive boost to Jordan Addison. So he's like smack dab in the wide receiver 2 range. He's my wide receiver 17 this week. So this is the time we've been waiting for Addison. Again, haven't really had a week where I've been able to say you should fire him up, but this is the week finally where you should absolutely fire him up as a solid wide receiver 2 option. At least until Justin Jefferson comes back.
Yeah, I got Addison and Adam Thielen back to back. How's that for Iron?
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I like Addison this week as well. I'll have something for you with the prop on him as well. Nice. I'm high on Christian Kirk this week, and that's surprising because I feel like he just keeps producing, I feel like people would move him up, but he's still wide receiver 21 in ECR. Going against Indianapolis, who plays the most zone in the league. Kirk leads the Jags in targets, yards per route versus zone coverage this year. He's averaging 2.2 yards per route versus zone, 1.6 versus man. So he's been better against zone coverage, which makes sense as a guy who, is going to line up in the slot a ton and do work, on the inside a little more. So I think Kirk is going to keep on eating him. Zay Jones just can't. That knee's just bugging him. Left the game again, so we'll see his status. But either way, I think Kirk's going to continue to be on the field for 90+% of the snaps. I don't even if Zay Jones ends up playing, it's at this point Kirk's just been too good, So I think he's back in that 90+ range. I think that week 1 was just an outlier. They were trying something new, or maybe sometimes guys when their snap rates go down, it's like sometimes they just like leave a game with like an injury and like you don't actually. No, it's not reported on or anything like that, but that's what it's more and more looking like an outlier because every other week, Kirk's been high 80s or into the 90s in terms of his snap rate. So yeah, I have him as a top 15 wide receiver this week. Love the matchup against Indianapolis. The Jaguars don't lose to the Colts in Jacksonville. They just don't do it. So somebody's gonna score touchdowns here. And I think Kirk is a good.
Yeah. Zay Jones is day to day, but did he re-injure the same knee? Like I haven't seen if that's
I believe
what happened,
I saw. I think it was a knee. That's a good question. If it was
I don't know if
it's
the same, but if it is, like it's hard to see him suit up. So right now I have him out. But I think you're alluding to that. Even if he comes back, I don't think he's going to return to that role where he's pushing Kirk off the field in 2 wide receiver sets. Like at this point, Kirk will probably play in 2 wide receiver sets going forward. And that was my concern when Zay Jones would come back. But at this point, Kirk's playing too well. And that we saw that kind of already happen in the preseason. That's why I was kind of worried about Kirk heading into the season. Then week 1, Kirk wasn't playing in 2 wide receiver sets. And then Zay Jones gets hurt, and he is. But at this point, Kirk has got to stay on the field. So, I agree. I think going forward, Kirk's going to be a 90% plus routes run guy going forward, and he's playing well. So he's back inside my top 20 going forward.
Yeah, and he's outplaying Calvin Ridley, which is
that's
so interesting.
No shit, but Ridley did have a good game.
Yeah,
but
we talked about that. We talked about that on the
pod,
on the night shift pod actually.
Yeah, but Kirk's been consistently good every week, whereas Ridley's been kind of scattered.
Yeah, it's been touch and go at Ridley a little bit. Actually, I dubbed both of them inside my top 20. Ridley's wide receiver 19, so it's not he's not like too far down, but I do think the matchup is better for Kirk here. Okay, who are you low on?
I'm low on Devonta Smith. ECR has him wide receiver 13. Again, I don't know if that's just people recycling last week's ranks, but I have him down to wide receiver 25. Just 'cause this is a tougher matchup, obviously, against the Jets. But, he's really seen his target share take a hit. Just the last 4 games, he's been seeing a target on 15% of his routes. Part of that's just A.J. Brown seeing a massive target share. And Dallas Goedert finally, getting more involved in the offense. But we've also started to see DeAndre Swift get more involved in terms of the passing game. Last game, he had 6 targets, so that's something that's going to eat into all these guys' target share. But it looks like Devonta Smith is really taking a hit. Now, granted, he's really talented. He'll catch an 80-yard touchdown and start the game, and I'll have egg on my face. But at least to start the week, we have to ding his projection at some point. So, again, he's more of like a really high-end wide receiver 3 for me than just like the fringe wide receiver 1 I typically have him. Just because something's got to give here. Like, we really need to see a big game from him. We need to see the target share go up. So as of now, with the tough matchup, I'm moving him down just a bit.
Yeah, he's a squeaky wheel. But if like I actually adjusted him up for a squeaky wheel, and he's my wide receiver 25. But before adjusting him up, he was like my wide receiver like 38 or something. Like he was fringe wide receiver 3, because like targets per route is a very like stable metric. Like now we have most guys have like over 100 routes. on this. Most starters have over 100 routes run this
Right.
season. So you're starting to really, you're using most of, the number and not as much regression or priors or anything like that anymore. So that it is a concern, but we've seen this, with the Eagles. Anytime somebody is a squeaky wheel, they probably are gonna get fed. So I wouldn't be surprised. So that's why I did bump it back up. But even with that, it's still, I'm only projecting Hurts for like 240 passing yards. It's not like a smash spot or anything. So I think Smith is, like you said, he's kind of on wait and see mode. Like you're still starting him as like a low end wide receiver too, but I'm sure there are some people that have like deep squads at wide receiver that might be able to bench him, but
and he's
wide receiver 25. Not
exactly. He's due, like you're alluding to. I think his target rate on the season is like 17%. So I'm not using that. Like I think that's probably his floor. I think that going into the season, I had his projected target rate like 23% of his routes run. So I'm using like 20.5 now. If we want to go like under the hood, like how much we're kind of factoring in the in-season data. I think he's obviously going to rebound. So I have his projected target rate like this week and going forward closer to like 20.5%.
All right, yeah, it'll be interesting to see Smith, and I'll have him in the prop coming up as well. So the guy I'm low on first, though, is Terry McLaurin, and he is the wide receiver 23 in ECR. I have him around wide receiver 40. Atlanta hasn't been great in pass defense, but they are number 5 in DVOA against number 1 receivers. They do have AJ Terrell. And McLaurin hasn't topped an 85% route participation rate this year. Most games, he's upwards of 90-95%. So, under Eric Bieniemy, he's kind of checking out of the game a little bit more, and he's also averaging a career low in targets per game at 6.2 and targets per route run at 16%. So he's kind of been, just like almost like an even split with Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel. None of these guys are really standing out on a week-to-week basis. So, I don't think McLaurin should be ranked quite this high, in this wide receiver 2 range. I think he's more of like a fringe start this week, especially because Atlanta, they could end up going run heavy. I know they threw the ball around last week, but they could end up going run heavy and limit the play volume. There's a lot of different ways that this could go wrong, and it's not a great matchup. So Terry McLaurin for me.
Yeah, I have him wide receiver 38, so I'm way low as well. I had lost 2 weeks in a row. I was attacking his unders and his props, and he was clearing them, so I gave up last week, and he finished under both. I guess I'm just waiting for Jahan Dotson to finally break out. It hasn't happened yet, but I mean, when he does, it's going to come at the expense of McLaurin.
Yeah, it's just a different offense, and it's not been necessarily bad. Howell's making some mistakes, but it's just a little more spread around, and Logan Thomas is more involved as well. So just kind of more of an even split with the target share this year for Washington. But the prop, we got another. Let's go another versus here. So
nice.
You're high on Addison, you're low on Devontae Smith, and I think in terms of the expert consensus, there people are higher on Smith, but you and I both kind of have Smith as a fringe wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 3 this week, especially in 10 teamers, things like that. So I'm gonna go receiving yards, Addison versus Smith, and I'll make Addison the favorite. So Addison minus a half a yard.
Oh man, yeah, I have him separated by 2. I have Addison with 2 more yards, but I'll put my money where my mouth is. I think you should start Addison over Smith, so I'll take Addison here. But that's obviously a close prop. I think he probably has the higher floor between the two, just because there's not as many weapons in that offense. Whereas Devontae has to deal with AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, and now Swift. So I think, I'm going to go with Addison here. If there were ever a week to finally go all in on Addison, it's this one.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's like I said, you do have the risk of that squeaky wheel. For
Yeah,
Philly.
Devonta Smith is a friggin' amazing wide receiver,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and then we with Addison, it's like, oh man, like he could be the wide receiver one this week. So yeah, it's an interesting
Yeah.
one, but yeah, I have him pretty similarly projected as well in terms of the yardage. So I was interested to see where you went with that. More memories are made when you're there for live NFL action, and when you need tickets, our friends at Ticketmaster have got you covered as the official marketplace of the NFL. Ticketmaster gives you more ways to find your perfect seat. Their interactive seat map gives you 360-degree previews of your section to make sure that you have the best view of all of those pivotal plays. And if your plans change, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell or transfer your tickets. Plus, mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze, and you can even customize your Ticketmaster app to rep your favorite team's colors. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/NFL. All right, Sean, let's close it up with tight end. Who you got in the top five?
So I got Travis Kelce, T.J. Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, and Darren Waller.
I got Kelce, Hawkinson, Andrews, Kittle, and Laporta.
Although if there were a week where T.J. Hawkinson might leapfrog Travis Kelce, it would be this week.
Yeah, he's been having kind of a rough go at it. It's not the greatest, not the greatest season for him. Just some drops and just some uneven play from him. But yeah, could be a smash spot. But like you said, we don't know what the Vikings are going to do. Are they going to run more? Are they going to just throw to Hawkinson? Is it going to be Addison? I know KJ Osborne's taking over the Jefferson role. It's going to be interesting. And you got Cam Akers now as well, so you could go run heavier and just kind of lean on the two backs. So a lot of question marks with this Viking offense. But yeah, I think Hawkinson.
Also,
what's up?
The Chiefs might not need Travis Kelce to get 7-8 catches this week to win, and he's dealing with the ankle injury, so could be a week where Kelce's more of a decoy. All I'm saying, this is the closest it's ever been between Kelce and anybody else in quite some time for me.
Yeah, Kelce's not playing a full complement of snaps these days. I mean, some of it is just blowouts, and he was coming back off the injury. He did practice on Tuesday, but yeah, it's a game where he could play, especially with the short rest. He might not play a full complement of snaps again. Who are you high on?
I'm high on Cole Kmet, who's finally in my top 10. I guess I'm late to the game. He has been playing lights out this year. Only future Hall of Famer Sam Laporta has more fantasy points than Cole Kmet after 5 weeks. So, Cole Kmet's the tight end 2 right now. And it's mainly due to he's just seeing a healthy target rate. He has 3 games with a target rate of 20% or greater. And, while the Bears don't really throw much, there isn't that much volume to go around. It really is just going through DJ Moore and Cole Kmet right now. Like, they are the passing game. So he just has a nice, floor ceiling combo for a tight end. And yeah, usually I'm pretty low on him, but right now just all the underlying data are going Kmet's way. And plus, Justin Fields and the passing offense has been playing better. That, finally I have Cole Kmet. He's inside my top 10, at least to begin the week.
Justin Fields is the league leader in touchdown rate through 5 weeks.
Oh, really?
Who saw that coming?
Ooh, not me.
Yeah, and a few of those have been to Kmet. Yeah, he's got 11 touchdowns on 152 attempts, and
wow.
Kmet's got 3, 4, 5 of those. Let's see.
Yeah, he has 3. And,
3, all in the last 2 games. Yep.
For the longest time, he was fighting touchdown regression, right? It was like the first year or 2 he was playing with Jimmy Graham and only had a couple touchdowns despite 100 catches or something. But yeah, the past couple seasons, he's been much more prominent in the red zone.
Yeah, first 2 years in the league, he had 88 catches and two touchdowns.
Yeah,
and then he had 7 last year. Now he's got 3 this year. So yeah, it's starting to come back around. I'm high on Zach Ertz. He is my tight end 9 this week. Not too much different. I think ECR has him 10, so not too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much in line with most of the ECR, but do like Ertz. The Rams are 30th in DVOA against tight ends. They're above average against all 3 wide receiver positions, believe it or not. So this has been a defense that, you kind of can slice and dice up over the middle of the field. And, we've seen the Colts do that. We've seen a number of teams go to the tight end against the Rams. They're giving up the 3rd most yards per game to the position at 66, tied for the 3rd most touchdowns per game at 0.6 or 3 in 5 games. And Ertz running around on 82% of Josh Dobbs' dropbacks, and he has 6 catches in 3 of the 5 games. So, he's been doing his thing, and Trey McBride's kind of been like somewhat of an afterthought here as that number 2 tight end. Ertz still rolling, so like him. Great matchup for him this week. All right, who are you low on?
I'm low on Dalton Kincaid against the Giants. Now, both Dawson Knox and Kincaid are questionable this week, so I mean, this is going to be a volatile situation. So this is just more about his long-term value that I'm very concerned about. Just, he's pretty much capped at a routes run rate around 65% as long as Knox is healthy. And he's only seeing a target on 13.5% of his routes. And, they're not very fruitful targets. He has a very low ADOT of 4.2, no touchdowns on the season. So at this point, he really does need Dawson Knox to miss time to even sniff tight end 1 value. So he's a guy that, going in the season, we liked his upside. He definitely had tight end 1 upside. It looked like the Bills were going to use him a lot more, but just based on the first 5 weeks, it has not been promising. Clearly, Sam Laporta was the rookie tight end to target. So yeah, he's outside my top 20 right now. And I just don't see that changing anytime soon unless something drastic happens or if Dawson Knox misses time. So I don't know if you're still hanging on to him out there, but there's probably better options, at least in the short term and potentially long term. So Kincaid, I've just not been impressed with the first 5 weeks in terms of his underlying usage. So he's the guy I'm low on this week and going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind 65% routes. I think that's solid. For a rookie, that's solid. But the target rate hasn't been great, and they don't have a buy into week 13. A lot of times you see guys kind of get worked more into the offense, coming off the bye. Now they do have a long rest after week 8. They play Thursday in week 8, and then Sunday night in week 9. So maybe then they kind of get him a little bit more involved. But he's in the protocol now, so like I said, usually guys that go into protocol just don't play the next week. So could be the Quentin Morris show this week for the Bills. It's not, and like, 2 touchdown favorites against the Giants, so you're definitely not going to push it. And you have a divisional game next week against in Foxborough, which is a little bit more important, even though the Patriots haven't been great either. So still, I think you rest him if you're not going to push him to play against a inter-conference opponent who's favored by 2 touchdowns again. I'm low on Dalton Schultz this week. I know he's had back-to-back pretty solid weeks, caught a touchdown in back-to-back games, but he's facing the Saints this weekend. They've been very good against tight ends. They have great safeties, great linebackers, and coverage. They're 5th in DVOA against the position, allowing the 3rd fewest targets per game, just 4.6 to tight ends. The fewest receptions per game, 2.8, and the fewest receiving yards per game, just under 20. And that's because New Orleans is playing man coverage at a top 5 rate, and Dalton Schultz just 0.7 yards per route against man, 1.4 against zone. So just half the productivity when he's running routes against man coverage. So I think this is just a tough matchup for him, and he's likely to come back down to earth here in this matchup. All right, what are you doing for the prop?
All right, another head-to-head battle here. Who will have more half PPR points this week? Kyle Pitts or Jonnu Smith?
Kyle Pitts actually had a solid game, though he did.
I know.
his routes participation was down to 64%. But he had his best game. I have him. It's actually close. I have Pitts as my tight end 13, and Smith is my tight end 15. So yeah, Pitts by 0.6 half PPR points. So I'll go Pitts here.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Jonnu Smith probably has the higher floor, just because Pitts is just, roller coaster, whereas Smith is just consistently seeing, 65% routes run rate. He's seen over a 20% target rate in 4 straight games. So I just think it's weird to think this, but yeah, Jonnu Smith probably has the higher floor. So that's why I'm willing to take this at just even money. We're doing half PPR, so it's less likely for them to tie, right? So
yeah, I can see it's like yardage where
yeah. So just straight up, you get Kyle Pitts, I get Jonnu Smith.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Who thought we'd be here?
I know, right?
Here, right?
I know.
Oh man! All right, that is gonna do it for our Week 6 NFL player projections episode of the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. For more fantasy content from Sean and I, be sure to check out our fantasy preview episode that's out now over on the Fantasy Flex podcast. And if you're into betting, be sure to check out my weekly betting preview episode with Stuckey every Thursday right here on this channel and actionnetwork.com for all of our NFL fantasy and betting content, fantasylabs.com for our DFS tools and models. You can follow Sean on X at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon, and we're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this money.